forecast by the Asian Development Bank warns that India is on course to have 50% water deficiency by 2030, while a 2015 report by the World Economic Forum has identified water crisis as the biggest risk the world faces over the next 10 years. According to NASA, water tables have declined by an average of 1 meter every 3 years in some parts of the Indus Basin, turning it into the second most overstressed aquifer in the world. The risks of a declining water table are manifold. The World Bank in a 2016 report has cautioned that countries that lack a sufficient amount of water could see their GDPs decline by as much as 6% by 2050. Industrial productivity can decline by as much as 0.75% in water-stressed states. The future of water resources and the ability to address the existing water scarcity challenges will remain a key theme for the Indian economy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of India Risk Report. And in this particular episode, we are looking at water resources and the challenges that we in the Indian subcontinent face because of depleting water resources. More so because several reports internationally have said a country like India could be on the course to have water deficiency by 2030, up to 50% deficiency. And the problem lies not just in India's heavy dependence on monsoon rains, but also the problem comes because of poor water management and poor understanding both at the level of the public and even at the level of the industry that water risk and the risk that water management can create for societies could be so enormous that it could lead to many more conflicts than what we have seen in the past. And we have three experts here with us. We have Mr. Vinod Ahuja, who is the Executive Committee member of SARC and the chairman of other initiatives, including being part of the SARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Mr. Alok K. Sikka, who is IWMI representative of India and principal researcher in looking at water management issues. And we have Dr. Suresh Kumar Rohila, who is the program director at the Center for Science and Environment. Dr. Rohila, I'll start with you. What is really the problem in water management? You know, we always hear water management is an issue. Somewhere I have read that also while we are very heavily agricultural dependent economy, the education hasn't trickled down to the agricultural sector and the farmers that how water management should be done better. Some people say also that because of faulty policies of appeasing the agricultural lobby, we have allowed them to be the way it is. And some say it is because of just general ignorance or apathy towards water management. So can you spell out the problem?
You have pointed out a very vital issue that water needs to be managed in one of the major water consuming sector, which is agriculture. But I would say that India primarily is a agriculture based economy, and yes, there is a demand which will continue to remain. Certainly where it is like 600 BCM water requirement or whatever, we would still require water for agriculture, and there's no doubt about that. And we will have to sustain population which will be there. This has not happened in the industrial or developed world, this scenario, because of the climatic condition, all those in India. But the other sectors which are demanding water is the domestic water and the industrial water. And because of this, these two sectors asking for more and more water, the conflicts are arising.
Okay, so that's a very important point. Conflicts are arising. I'll go to you, Dr. Sikka, sir. Conflict. And since you look after, I suppose this is the Indus Waters initiative, that is one of the things that is an area which is of interest to you also, or is it purely because you've been with the government of India, so you are Mr. Know-all about so many of the initiatives that the government is involved in? Because one of the things that I've been reading, that a lot of interstate disputes within India have been happening because of water-related issues. There is the Punjab initiative where the Punjab legislator doesn't want to part with water with the Satluj Canal link. There is the Kaveri water dispute. There is also the dispute in terms of water distribution in certain other areas where waters of local rivers have begun to dry up. So do you really see this as an area of serious concern or something that we can tide over in our usual way in India?
You see, I'll start with what you put in your first question. Like you see, definitely the agriculture is the maximum consumer of water, and the challenge before us is that in the years to come, because of the competing water demands, the water which is going to be diverted for agriculture is going to be reduced, because it has to meet the requirements of industry and the domestic water needs and the environmental flow. So, things are going to be even far more challenging, because so the answer really lies in to producing more water per drop, what's what we call more crop per drop. So, that basically amounts to the fact that we have to enhance the efficiency, the way we use the water, means the water use efficiency, and not only that, also the productivity of the water. Now, when I say so, I also come to the fact, as you mentioned, about the various interstate disputes. So, I think I will not try to get into those interstate disputes, rather what I would say that there are number of ways that we can try and look into those kind of things, because there are tools like, we being a research organization, like simple tool called water accounting, means that through water accounting tool we can say that how much water is there and how it is being consumed, where it is stored, and how it could be allocated. So, even from that point of view, we in the International Water Management Institute started working sometimes back on water accounting, and very recently in the month of May, we had also organized together with the IHE Delft capacity building program for the Ministry of Water Resources, Government of India, and also for the NGOs as to how to use. Of course, that is more on a sensitization. So, the issue here is that we have to see that how much water budgeting we have to do, how much water we have, and how accordingly we can tailor our needs, and in order to do so, we must try to have more efficient way of water management.
I just a follow-up question, because you've raised a very important point and I just want a quick answer. They say that major industrial belts have been worst affected by the water crises, such as Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, etc. in India. But also the fact is that the lack of water availability could pull down the index of industrial production, and it is something equal to 100 BPS is equal to 1 percentage point. And so therefore, as you say, water management and better accountability can it actually affect our GDP figures that dramatically?
No, you see, the here issue is that what you are telling about the industries, you see, when we are talking about making efficient use of water and productive use of water, it is even for the industries. Not only that, in agriculture we know the efficiency is very, very low, like overall irrigation efficiency around 38 to 40%.
But for industry,
and in industry also, it is not that the people are not doing. Now the industries are looking into the more efficient way of using water. They are doing water auditing. They are also using water conservation techniques. They are also being how best you can make use of the treated wastewater for the industries.
Yes, I think that's
those are the kind of the ways that we have to try and look into, that within the given resources availability of the water, how best we can manage, and maybe even sometimes modify some of the industrial processes and trying to see that we are more water efficient.
Okay, good point. So, sir, I now come to you, Mr. Ahuja, sir. You, of course, look at SARC-related issues, plus you would also be aware of the general problem that exists in the subcontinent. Now, I want short answers from you to two issues, sir. One is, they say that a research paper by the Water Ministry suggests that water use efficiency in agriculture in India is amongst the lowest in the world. It's 25 to 35%, whereas in China it's twice as high. So we have an example next door, and maybe there are some lessons you can bring there. The second is that while a recent scientific study came to the fact that the Indus basin is falling by 4 to 6 mm per year, Ganges Brahmaputra basin is falling by 15 to 20 mm per year, and therefore NASA pictures and others are showing that at least in North India, below the irrigated fields, groundwater has virtually been disappearing. Your views?
See, I do agree that as far as the water level is concerned, it is depleting quite a lot. But now many preventive measures have been taken, Since I'm an agriculturist also, I'm into agro-based industries, and we are into commodity export as well. And we understand the whole issue. We are trying to adopt the pragmatic and innovative ideas, how to reduce our water exploitation by the agriculture sector. We understand agriculture consumes 70%, industry and energy consumes your 20%, and 10% for potable water and indirect application for human beings. So from agriculture we have to start. We came from drip irrigation, sprinkle irrigation, and even we are going in for furrow irrigation. So many things are doing. But what hurts me is that there is lot of grey water which can be shifted to agriculture. I give you example of my hometown. I am a resident of Fazilka. There is a drainage and it is carrying effluent of 12 big cities, and all the cities have STPs, but they are not operating.
No, same story, sir, by that yardstick. In all the top metropolitan cities of India, I understand the figure is not more than 20% of the sewage that is treated. So therefore, there is very little recycling, there is very little effort to conserve or reproduce what we already have. And we can't constantly keep digging into nature's resources. But we will be back after a break to now look at, having broadly understood where the real challenges lie, what steps the governments can take, and what initiatives could be there in the public-private sector space to ensure that India doesn't run into the crisis situation in a few years as is being projected because of water shortages. With that, after a break. Welcome back. We continue to have our three distinguished guests with us. Mr. Ahuja, sir, you were continuing, so I had to interrupt because of a break. But let me ask you also to say that, I mean, you're a hands-on man. You have enough experience in it. But what, in bullet points, would be the steps that we need to take to prevent a water crisis? Because cities in India in particular are all staring at a not too happy future.
My answer to this is that we should focus very assertively on rain harvesting. It's a green water, and we are creating lot of concrete jungles in metropolitans, and rain harvesting is one solution. Not a single drop of rain should be wasted. And when you go to the streets and the roads of Delhi, when the monsoons are there, basically the streets and roads are like canals. Why can't we harvest that water? It's very, very important. And it has to start from the rooftop. And unfortunately, we have left very little area for parks. Recharging is very little unless or until it is planned. And it has to be done.
Okay. Mr. Sikka, sir, do you feel that your statistics, and particularly the detailed studies that you have been involved in, lead you to believe that, as Mr. Ahuja has suggested, rain harvesting itself can give you the kind of index figures and kind of numbers that you desperately need, we desperately need as a people, to get over this major risk and a major hazard that we could be facing? Because as somebody has argued that, and it's a very interesting quote I must bring out. He said, you have a reserve police, you have a reserve army, but you have no reserve water. So how do you create those reserves of water to meet the statistical levels that, and what would be the barest minimum that you'll be comfortable with?
Now, see, I'll just take on from where Mr. Ahuja left. You see, yes, rainwater harvesting is very, very important, and be it in urban areas or rural areas, and be it in high rainfall areas or low rainfall areas or drought areas, yes, it is very important component, and we do advocate that. And as he mentioned, so I endorse what he has said. Besides that, I would like to say, as you asked me, that we have to look into the integrated management of water resources, means the supply side augmentation using the rainwater, which is green water, and also the supply side augmentation through groundwater recharge, as he mentioned, because there are a number of ways we can have what we call managed aquifer recharge. And very recently, we from International Water Management Institute are demonstrating even in Rampur district that how the flood water could be immediately recharged back into the groundwater in order to reduce the double whammy of the flood and also have a recharge the groundwater for drought situation. So, that is one thing is on the supply side management. So, we have to see the rainwater, surface water and the groundwater. Number 2 is the demand side management, because it is not just the supply side augmentation is limited by how much rainfall is there and how many resources. So, in a given scenario, we have to also try and see that when the availability is less and the demand is more, so how best we can do the demand side management by improving the efficiency, cutting down on the wasteful use of water. Like if you are trying about the urban areas, lot of leakages are taking place, almost like 30%. So, how can we reduce those leakages? In agricultural fields, how can we go and have a more water efficient methods of irrigation like the drip irrigation or the rain guns or the sprinkler irrigation. So, the issue here is broadly that we have to look into the supply side augmentation and the demand management, because demand management also would need some sort of incentivization, because demand management, because if I am conserving or I am saving, my next door neighbor is just misutilizing that, what is that I am going to get out of that? So, that is very important that we have a kind of integrated approach to this.
Well, yeah, that's a comprehensive picture. Dr. Rohila, since you look at water management as a key area, the Environmental Justice Atlas in January 2016 has revealed that conflicts related to water management appear to be the highest in India, with 59 cases, followed by conflicts in fossil fuels and climate justice category, etc., etc. So, water management can create problems both in terms of the political upheaval they can cause, and things can get violent, it can cause disruption of public life, lives can be lost. So, what are your views in terms of preventing conflicts and preventing a situation from getting out of hand with just water management? What steps will you suggest for both for the government and the private sector?
I would say that as a researcher in this area for almost 2 decades or so, we do not have credible assessments of water requirement or water demand. There are very rough estimates or whatever I have come across, even government what has estimated about industrial water requirement or cities water requirements and agriculture water requirements. There is not adequate assessment which is available, and if we really do good assessment and then start going backwards and calculating that how to address this. For example, there is a national water mission which says that 20% savings by 2020, but nothing has materialized on ground in terms of sectoral steps that how can you achieve that 20% saving in each of these sectors which we are talking about. We have targets, but we do not have those processes and frameworks evolved how to achieve these targets in each sector.
Okay. Mr. Ahuja, I come back to you, sir. Internationally speaking, there is an ongoing water dispute between China, Pakistan and Bangladesh, and they all involve the sharing of water. Is the risk of a military conflict something that needs to be factored in our risk assessment of the economic environment, especially in the context of the region and SAARC, since you look at commerce and other issues related with SAARC?
See, whenever we go in for SAARC meeting, we do become participants in these kind of discussion, and the nations have become prudent. They will always find a solution amicably rather than going in for a military conflict, because military conflict finally will never end in any result.
And you have to get back to the table anyway.
You will have to get back to the table. So, it's always more prudent, and what I feel, all the nations globally have understood, everyone has head above the shoulder. You see, we'll have to, like I told you, that 70% water I need for agriculture, 25% I need for industry and energy, 10% for human consumption. No, we have to save every bit of percentage in all the 3 sectors. First sector, it's very difficult. Second, yes, instead of having water intensive power generation, such as thermal power plants and all that, we'll have to reinvest in other kind of renewable sources of energy to come out with that. And one thing, even the water management, I hope the panel may agree, there are monsoons recent, your turbines are working, the water is coming to headworks, it is going to the feeders, distributaries and miners, but sometimes the farmers don't need the water because there has been a rainfall.
And as the case has shown, that in some states, if it's better managed between electricity and the farmer's requirement, you
Exactly.
can achieve both the results within the limited resources.
We want them to conserve water for some time, since there has been a rainfall in the area, be it anywhere in the country, in any state.
Mr. Sikka sir, last quick interjection from you. Since you know, scientific figures are something that all of you have a strong research background, but you go into it more specifically. Can you tell me basically that the corporate sector is conscious of what contributions they have made and they can make in terms of some awareness initiatives that have been launched? Because once they understand that, they'll put their money where their mouth is.
It's very a good question and very important that now under the CSR initiatives, as we know, I would not go into the details of that. I understand as far as we have been working also very closely with some of the corporates under the CSR or even otherwise, because even IMI, we have a history of working even with the Tata Trust even since early 2000s or for the last 15 years. And we have been also working with the ITC, Nestle and rest of that. And corporates under the CSR and otherwise also some of them are really doing a very good job. And the issue is that how best we can try and assimilate the things together and even put it in a bigger surface or even try to take it as a influencing the policies. In that respect, from the IMI, very recently we had also organized a dialogue with the CSR in trying to see that how we being an international water management institute could add value to what they are doing. We could provide a kind of a platform for all of them to come together and also maybe even as a center of excellence in trying to see that how this partnership could be taken forward.
Well, due to shortage of time, gentlemen, I'll have to wrap up this show, but I can only say on a parting note that considering that good minds like you are being applied to the major sort of water challenges that we face, quite clearly the steps are known to the people. We now just need to get around to it, both at the governmental level and at the level of the corporates and individual initiatives, to implement them to ensure that India doesn't face the crisis that have been projected by think tanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And look forward to someday having you again on the show. And until our next episode, goodbye.